Hello everyone, back tuning into the 16th Christmas update from GalesWeather.com. So we are getting on with the updates now. We've got 25 penciled in, so we're well over halfway. And the storyline with Christmas updates this year is that the first half of the updates were very mild, stormy and zonal, with the Atlantic throwing everything and the kitchen sink at us. And then the second half of the updates, which we started from update 13 onwards, have so far looked a bit colder and a little bit more anticyclonic and not as stormy as what we saw through the first half of the updates. Now, the last update we did was on Saturday. The 15th update was quite interesting because it wasn't doing anything particularly cold in itself, but it was showing a lot of high pressure, a lot of anticyclonic weather, and consequently fairly cold weather at times as well. It did look like the CFS was really starting to shift its ideas from that stormy zonal conditions to something a little bit colder and more anticyclonic. So I said the 16th update, tonight's update, will probably be quite important to see whether that trend was maintained, and that's what we're going to do for tonight's update. Just say we won't be having many more updates with the long-range CFS V2, and I'll tell you about model in a moment. We'll soon be moving over to the medium range GFS model. We'll be doing that probably from around the 19th update, I would have thought. So not too much longer now to work with the CFS V2. But this 16th update is using CFS models. So again, we're using metrosil.fr. It's the midday run generated midday yesterday. Always that 24-hour delay on the charts coming through. The 9-monthly forecast from CFS V2. Without anything else, let's get on with it. So we're going to begin on the 11th of December, where it's looking cold. We've got a cold pool established not only across the UK, but across many parts of Europe as well. These areas of low pressure trying to bring the milder weather from the Atlantic are being blocked out into the Atlantic. We go through to the 12th and the 13th. We're bringing a system in from off the Atlantic there. That could be bringing snow and rain across the country. Rain in southern and western areas, but snow actually the further east and north you happen to get. That low pressure is stalling as it hits the colder air. We're up to the 14th of December now, and we start to bring more areas of low pressure in from off the Atlantic. And again, these are coming up against that cold air and slipping southwards. So this is the 15th of December, when there could be a little bit of a snow event taking place there, as this area of low pressure is hitting the cold air that's established to our north and east, stalling and slipping away. So that takes us up to the 17th of December, where another low pressure is having a go at trying to dislodge this cold pool. This is a very extensive cold pool that's sitting across much of northern Europe, by the way. And again, this low pressure coming up against that cold air. It is stalling, so on the northern eastern side of this low pressure, there could be snow. To the south and the west, there would likely be rain. That low pressure is slipping away as we go through to the 18th of December to our south, and then we're building an area of high pressure in across the country, that producing no doubt a lot of frost and fog. So certainly into the second half of December, it's all looking rather cold and wintry on tonight's 16th update. However, you'll notice by the 19th of December here, we've got these purple colours starting to turn up across Greenland and the North Atlantic. That could be a sign that the jet stream and polar vortex is beginning to reinvigorate. Let's roll on and have a look what happens. Well, we're going up to the 21st of December, and we're still under an area of high pressure, so it's still pretty cold, very cold across many parts of Europe. We're still just about under this high pressure, still just about hanging on to cold weather. Of course, there will probably be a fair amount of snow on the ground from the earlier snowfalls, but probably wearing a bit thin by this point. We haven't had many top-ups since around the 18th of December. So now, by the 22nd, 21st, 22nd, we're under high pressure. It's probably dry, it's probably frosty, but again, the low pressure in the Atlantic is starting to look just a little bit ominous. So we move through to the Christmas period itself, and this is what happens on Christmas Eve. Low pressure is beginning to break through from off the Atlantic. It's a slow old process, but it's starting to re-establish milder and wetter conditions across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, England and Wales is still just about holding on to the cold weather under that area of high pressure. So Probably wet and windy Christmas Eve for the north and the west, but for the south and east, probably frosty, dry and cold, maybe with freezing fog patches as well. That's Christmas Eve. This is Christmas Day, where it's turning milder for all parts of the country by this point. So this is bringing in southwesterly winds across the country, probably outbreaks of rain as well. Temperatures would be lifting up, and there'd be a thaw taking place of lying snow. Probably would still be some snow on the ground there for Christmas Day to make it feel seasonable, especially in the south, but very rapidly would be thawing away. I've also got this area of low pressure bringing wet weather up to the north. So it's cold just up towards Christmas, and then Christmas itself, for tonight's 16th update, turns milder, wetter and windier. And then we go through to Boxing Day, where we're firmly in a westerly flow. Then the Atlantic has re-established and brought us back to westerly winds. So that's looking mild for Boxing Day, probably reasonably dry under that little bump of high pressure, but low pressure is waiting in the wings. Let's go to the post-Christmas period. This takes us between Christmas and New Year, when it's turning stormy. This is 27th of December, and we've got a proper old storm blowing there, 955 millibar area of low pressure to the north of Scotland. So now we're going back to that stormy weather that dominated the first half of the Christmas updates. CFS wants to take us back to stormy winds and heavy rain sweeping across the country by the 27th to the 28th of December. Severe gales in with that as well. Running up towards New Year, we're still in a very unsettled weather pattern. Low pressure's coming through, and we are starting to entrench some colder air down from the north with these areas of low pressure again as well. So this is New Year's Eve, when low pressure is dominating, brings showers or longer spells of rain. And with winds turning northerly, there might be some wintry potential for northern parts of the country. This is New Year's Day, where again, probably showery this, and fairly cold, especially so for the north. You would expect wintry showers with that up in the north. I'll run you through the first week or so of January. So we're up to the 3rd of January now, trying to build an area of high pressure over Scandinavia, but a deep area of low pressure in the Atlantic, so there's a bit of a battle taking place. Actually, we're mild and wet here on the 3rd of January. We go beyond that to the 6th, to the 7th of January, and high pressure's close to the south, probably keeping it mainly dry, fairly mild there, wet and windy conditions up to the north, and then I'll just run you a little bit further into January. So we tried to re-establish cold air from the east there around the 12th, through to the 13th, 14th, but really it's these areas of low pressure in the Atlantic that are still driving things up to the middle part of January, looking quite stormy there on tonight's 16th update. So we've lost that anticyclonic scenario that we had with the 15th update. We have gone to much more unsettled update again. Now, there's a lot of cold weather there running up towards Christmas. Plenty of snow events, albeit quite marginal, but plenty of snow events going on up to around the 18th, 19th of December. Then it turns dry, frosty and cold, and then just before Christmas, on Christmas Eve really, we begin to re-establish those milder winds from off the Atlantic. And then those milder winds, when they re-establish, then the model is off and running, with its idea of turning things stormy and Atlantic driven through to the end of the year and the start of next year. So yes, it's cold up to Christmas, but then it's milder over and after Christmas, and increasingly stormy as well. That's tonight's 16th update. Not sure how seriously we should take this, because there's a lot of cold weather and plenty of snow events going on leading up towards Christmas, and the model wasn't really indicating that very much in the earlier update. So I'm not sure this model has a handle on what's going on this year at all, and I would suggest just keep checking the Christmas updates. We will soon be discarding the CFS. As I said, we get to around update 18, 19, we'll switch over to the GFS, and then we will begin to hone in, I think, on exactly where things are going to be this Christmas. And I'm not at all sure the CFS has got this worked out. But, of course, it may be that CFS has been right all the way along. We'll have a stormy Christmas and reasonably mild as well, which we'll just have to wait and see. But the signs at the moment, certainly to the middle and even the second half of December, are looking quite cold and wintry, I have to say. Right, that's all for now. We'll do the next Christmas update, which will be the 17th in a couple of nights. So that's going to be Wednesday night. Come back for that then. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.